Welcome to the Bunzel Sales Nation. Today, we're going to talk about sustainable packaging. And I like to open up by saying, the U.S. consumer and also the grocery and food processing industry has been falling behind on this industry for us and the products that are out there. And I think a lot of it has to do with cost, maybe a little bit of education, maybe the packaging that was available at the time is kind of clunky at the time. Now there's been a huge improvement on sustainables. And hopefully my guests today, Fernando Penuela and Savannah Seydel, are going to help me kind of bring that to light and see what is causing some of these issues and where we can actually expand in the areas of sustainable packaging. It's very important to me, and I know it's important to the consumer and all of us that are involved. So I'm gonna there's a lot of content we want to go over here, so I'm going to toss it to both you guys and take over and tell us a little bit about yourselves and your company, please.
Sure. Well, hi, thank you so much for having us. It's just so great to be here with the Bunzel community, so thank you. Like you mentioned, I'm Savannah Seydel. I'm our Vice President of Sustainability, and I work to help spread the word about sustainable food service packaging, help us walk the talk in terms of lessening our environmental footprint, help catalyze our plastic-free future, and help build a regenerative workplace too for our employees. So looking forward to diving into all of that alongside my colleague, Fernando. I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. It's exciting to participate in the podcast. It's definitely a long time waiting to support the momentum that we're starting to see with sustainable packaging, and it's coming from the coast, and it's going to work its way in slowly but surely. But I think we're in a good position to share a great story and help your team understand what it means to be sustainable and how to approach different opportunities with our program.
How long have both of you been in this industry? Have you sold sustainables before, or is this something new that you've gotten into? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Fernando, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so my career spans about 25 years in distribution, so I have a really good understanding of the processes related to distribution. But as we talk about sustainable packaging, I would say it's probably about 5 years now that I've been really focused on trying to identify the right manufacturer, the right partner to promote the category. My experience is predominantly within food service packaging. There are some opportunities with industrial packaging, and it all comes back to how can we provide some solutions for our customers and different organizations to help them meet their sustainable goals. So it's been a minute, so it's exciting to be here.
Yeah, and I've been in this industry for going on 4 years, but have spent my career kind of thinking about big environmental problems and how we solve them. So largely over the past 10 years working within the environmental advocacy space. So prior to Better Earth, most recently I was working with the film production company Exposure Labs. Some folks might be familiar with some of our Netflix documentaries, Chasing Coral or The Social Dilemma, where we would take these big stories and help bring them down and translate them, so to speak, to communities on the ground and environmental issues on the ground. But what excited me about the opportunity to transition over to the private sector and to sustainable food service packaging itself was frankly the massive need for us to have a conversation around what the continued evolution of packaging will look like. Some of these big environmental problems like plastic pollution that we're experiencing, global climate change, packaging plays a very big role in that. But the empowering thing is just by small switches alone, we can have such a big difference. So that's what motivated me to transition over to this sector.
No, and all for the great reasons of doing that. Has it always been an easy sell? I mean, and I go back to, just recently before the pandemic, trying to push a lot, especially out where I live here in the Bay Area, pushing the sale and talking to the consumer and the customer about it, and both sides, consumer and the customer. It's been a tough sale because of the costing, but that's not where you start, right? Talk about that, Savannah.
Yeah, happy to elaborate on it. Compostable food service packaging is an emerging technology. Single-use plastics and styrofoam have had over 50 years to optimize, right, their manufacturing and create a bunch of efficiencies that have helped lower their cost, right? So compostables are an emerging technology, so we have to take that into consideration, especially as we think about the beginning, right? The origins of compostable packaging might be the egg carton that all of us are familiar with. It's not that sexy, you know, it's a pretty standard molded fiber, and we have come a long way from the egg carton, I'd like to think. And so since that time, we have continued to expand manufacturing capabilities and technologies, expand performance abilities to support a wide variety of applications. And in so doing, through all these different efficiencies and expanding those manufacturing technologies, continue to dramatically lower the cost. I'd like to think that we are very competitive now with high performance plastics. And now as you even think about lesser performing plastics, if you look at it and pull it down to a unit cost, it's really can be down to a nickel difference between compostable food service packaging and other plastic alternatives. So from the cost perspective, it's really beginning to change. But beyond that, cost isn't as often driving this conversation because there's legislation at play and consumer demand at play. And that's really, I think, what's continuing to drive this interest towards sustainable food service packaging. And then you couple that with this broader concern around those environmental issues that I was mentioning. I'm sure many of us saw that video of the turtle, right? And I think that was kind of this canary that taught us about these bigger pollution problems that we are all experiencing and the role that we can all play. And since that, actually 3/4 of Americans believe that we need to reduce our dependency on single-use plastics, and that statistic. So this statistic was actually made this year, very recent. That statistic is equated to global population. So 3/4 of people worldwide also feel that we need to reduce our dependency on single-use plastics. So again, cost is coming down and consumer interest and legislative momentum is going up.
No, absolutely great point, because of the fact that when you talk about, you know, the up and coming generation, that's where it's at. That's why there's going to be so much growth into this. Fernando, I had a conversation with the University of Kansas, their business team, their sales force there, and on a recruiting call. And I gave a presentation and I talked about, you know, our organization, what we're doing. And I just touched briefly on sustainability. When it came to the question and answer period at the very end, I was amazed by how many of the millennial generation that were on this call focused on what are you doing about sustainability, Bunzel? What are you doing? And I think it has to go to Savannah's point beyond the costing of it. It has to go toward education, right?
Yeah, fundamentally, that's where we're seeing, you know, higher ed is definitely a vertical market that we're targeting for that particular reason. I think the pressure, the social pressure from legislation, of course, as to Savannah's point, but also the pressure from the student body. They want to see change on their campus. They are choosing their institutions on where they go they make their decisions based on the sustainable initiatives on the campus. So it really, you know, and the cost is a variable, of course, everybody's looking for cost. But what I found, you know, pre-pandemic, it was really gaining a lot of traction. The conversation was led by sustainability. And as a sales professional, that was the differentiator, right? Are you going to go in and sell a me too, and this is my price, or are you going to sell the value behind a sustainable product? But definitely in the higher ed vertical, we're definitely seeing more pressure to move to sustainable packaging. That's definitely, and it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, right? How is it going to translate into the Midwest and the other communities where it's not as prevalent and there's no legislation? But I think time will definitely change and legislation will move inward as well. And I'm sure Savannah's very tuned in on the momentum on legislation and how it's really gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah, and the legislation, you know, that's force in the hand, which I think in some areas it needs to be. Some of our areas, you know, of the country are more responsive just because the focus has been there. And it was funny when these questions were coming up, the students on the campus of Kansas University were saying that, we go into our cafeterias, we go into our restaurant, we go in, we don't see a lot of sustainable packaging being brought onto this campus. And to your point, Fernando, that's where I think a lot of this has to start. Savannah, there was a quote here. I believe I saw it on your website, something that Forbes was talking about packaging, sustainable packaging. And they quote by saying something like, we're shaping up the year that packaging transforms from wrecking our environment with excess waste to making the planet environmentally wonderful. And they were alluding to the fact of more of this sustainable needs to reach us, right?
Yes, exactly. It goes to this point that packaging in of itself, I think can take up to 1/4 of our landfill space today. In addition to that, we're seeing issues with microplastics in our human health, as well as to the other environmental impacts that I was mentioning earlier. But I think the interesting thing about scale is what can be seen as a really big problem on the flip side can be seen as a really big opportunity. And so I think that sustainable food service packaging, compostable food service packaging can be a bit of a linchpin towards turning the tide on a lot of these environmental issues that we're seeing specific to the food service industry and transitioning it forward, especially when you're coupling compostable food service packaging with commercial composting systems, which in and of themselves are continuing to grow and grow exponentially, thanks again to consumer interest and legislative support.
I want to make a distinction because that was a good point you brought up. There is a difference between sustainable packaging and compostable. Talk to that.
I'd be happy to. There is so much greenwashing out there. And so by greenwashing, folks that are trying to jump into this growing market for people wanting sustainable products and try and get things at a high margin, right? And so for folks, listening into this, just want to emphasize a few things as you're navigating the marketplace so that you feel armed and empowered to navigate this and know what's truly authentic and what's truly sustainable. So in terms of our product lines, all of our products are third-party certified to be certified commercially compostable. In fact, the Federal Trade Commission regulates the term compostable. You can only use that term if you are certified to safely break down in a composting environment in 90 to 180 days or less. And so a lot of packaging companies that are trying to, latch on to this movement will use the term biodegradable. That's a big red X on that. Try to avoid using the term biodegradable whenever possible because it's not legally binding. So that actually might be somebody trying to greenwash, trying to kind of jump into this. Biodegradable does not mean that that product is certified in any way and might only be able to go to the landfill. Pat, you're biodegradable, I'm biodegradable, Fernando's biodegradable, my phone is. The reason we all are is because there's no time limit on how long any of us or things will biodegrade, right? Where there is for certified compostable products. In fact, it's gotten so bad that the term biodegradable is actually banned in certain states such as California and Maryland in regards to bioplastics because people know that it causes greenwashing and confusion. So always look for compostable products and look for those third-party certifications. The third-party certifications that are the biggest in our industry and the ones that we align with, the foundational one is ASTM. You will see that as the foundational certification for compostable food service packaging. Beyond that is the Biodegradable Products Institute, or BPI, and CMA, which is Compost Manufacturers Alliance. I'm getting a little wonky here, but all you have to look for is that BPI symbol or CMA symbol to know that it was third-party vetted to go safely into a commercially compost bin.
Where does Cedar Grove play into this? Because that was a big name very early on in the stages of sustainable.
Yeah, so Cedar Grove has been an incredible partner in the growth of this movement. Cedar Grove is a large commercial composting facility out of Washington State. They actually initiated what is now known as Compost Manufacturers Alliance, or CMA. So Cedar Cedar Grove saw a need for more third-party testing and collaboration between compostable packaging and composters. So Cedar Grove grew into this separate association called CMA, and it's now a national partnership of composters that are in collaboration with compostable packaging products and help certify compostable food service packaging. So they were the genesis for that third-party certification we see today.
Yeah, that's exactly the word, the genesis for this happening. So we historically have customers that are in grocery. We have customers that are in food processing. Fernando, where do you guys start when you the market's huge out there? Where do you start?
You know, we've identified 3 or 4 different vertical markets that we're targeting. We alluded to higher ed as being a strong market. Coffee is another segment that we're targeting, QSR as well, and then the grocery, the retail segment. So it really depends on, you know, where, it really depends on the operator and if the operator is behind the story, right? If the operator is just chasing the price, we're likely not going to convince them that our product is going to be more effective. But having said that, I think post-pandemic, the supply chain is calming down. People are actually taking the time to evaluate their options. But to Savannah's point, if you break it down per unit and kind of back away from this is the case price, in comparison to styrene, which has escalated due to demand, due to the lack of supplies and the supply chain madness that we all had to deal with in the last year and a half, it really makes sense to move to sustainable packaging. So those would be the primary verticals that we're focused on now. But then there's a whole nother segment of other businesses and other opportunities within the food processors, within the healthcare arena, with all the food service entities on campus. So our products really complement so many different vertical markets that, you know, it's really endless, the amount of different opportunities and where our products can actually be utilized. And at the end of the day, appreciated by the tenants in the building, on the campus. You know, I as a consumer, I think we're definitely starting to see decisions being made on where people dine and how they shop and spend their money. And they're going to support those entities that have embraced and who are incorporating sustainability in their packaging.
Yeah, when we talk about the verticals, and that's a lot of times our products, especially with Bunzl, we do hit the verticals, true, and then we also go, ours lands in a lot of different areas that we never thought of. But we get it into redistribution, which is a whole nother animal. They have their own vertical system. They have their own horizontals even, you know, they touch a lot of different industries. And so I think that's where a lot of our strength is, that we can get not only to the verticals, but out to other markets as well. And that's, you know, the more education, the more awareness. You have a great line of products and your website is phenomenal. And just a website itself, I've never seen one that is so interactive and intuitive with the consumer, with the salesperson. So why don't we discuss out some of your products? Whoever, you know, Savannah, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And bring us here. So we have a variety of products to support many different needs in the food service industry, exactly to what Fernando was saying. So I want to elaborate here. If you see in this slide, you know, we have some of the most substrates on the market. We start with renewable and regenerative plant-based products, whether that be the plants themselves or literal byproducts from other industries, as is the case with sugarcane bagasse. We employ that waste product that would otherwise be incinerated and create a whole product line out of that, giving it a new life. So we have our sugarcane production, which offers that standard clean white look that a lot of folks are looking for. We also have our Eco Bamboo line, which is our most extensive collection. We have our FSC certified paperboard for hot cups and soup containers. We have our PLA for cold cups, cutlery, and clear lids. And then something that I'm most excited about, our switchgrass collection. That's our farmer's fiber collection. Our switchgrass is grown right here in the southern United States. Better Earth is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. I realized I didn't mention that earlier. So we're proud to continue to grow domestic production of plant-based products here in the South and bring up a community and green jobs around it. Today, we actually employ over 180 people across our work, including over 60 farmers in Georgia and Tennessee with long-term contracts to grow this perennial crop. It actually, with switchgrass, its roots continue to grow after you harvest it. So it's continuing to sequester carbon year after year. It's really cool. And so, you know, back to the products themselves, all of our substrates come in the standard clamshell sizes, 6'6", 8'8", 883, 96, 962, 99, and 993, as well as multiple plate and bowl sizes. In addition to that, we also offer some of the only customizable compostable clamshells in the industry that are domestically printed here in Clarkston, Georgia. That's something that we're really proud of too.
Not only do you guys talk the talk, but you guys walk the walk. And that's what impresses me about your company, is that you are domestic here. And a lot of the different ingredient, well, I'll call it, you know, special sauce, or the ingredients that go into your products. What's sugar? Why sugar cane versus corn or paperboard? What's the connection there?
Absolutely. I think it comes down to aesthetics and preferences. So our sugarcane, right, that offers that clean white look that a lot of operators have come to expect in the marketplace. As I mentioned before, Eco Bamboo has a wide variety of different applications. We have a wide variety of products for both back of house and front of house. So if a customer is looking for one substrate to really handle a bunch of different applications, from clamshells to grain bowls to trays, etc., then bamboo would be best for them. And switchgrass is that made in the USA line, right? So if somebody has domestic production or domestic sourcing as part of their sustainability goals, and that would be great for them. PLA offers that clear lid option for folks that are looking for that to really showcase their products and display them. And then PLA, or CPLA, offers for our cutlery. And so we have actually some of the widest collection of cutlery as well for different applications. Does that help answer the question?
Absolutely. And I just want to remind the audience, when you're talking about, you know, especially with lids, the plastics, PLA, compostable. So that's, again, a full loop, closed loop system, correct? So,
yes, exactly.
Good. What else you guys have there?
Yeah, you know, I might pass it over to Fernando to elaborate a little bit further on our custom branding opportunities too.
Yeah, so there's, you know, as sales pros, we're always looking for a differentiator, right? What is going to initiate the conversation with the operator with a new opportunity? So there are a couple of different, one of them, of course, to Savannah's point, is our print capabilities. We can digitally print on any of the molded fiber containers, to include the lids, with a very palatable, I call, minimum order. It's a 2 pallet minimum. We can drop ship anywhere in the country, and we have an awesome design team who helps walk, you know, particularly those who are, you know, into their design and take a lot of pride in their branding. Our team can help facilitate the branding. We do mock-ups, we do samples. We're very nimble in response to helping our clients meet their branding initiatives. So that is one lead in. So if Pat, if you were to ask me what's the lead conversation, it's going to be our custom branding, because no one does that with a 2 pallet minimum. The other category that's super exciting is we've collaborated with a manufacturer in South America, and we don't have the slide up there, but on the website you'll see our mineral paper, and our mineral paper is super unique. It is think of it as PLA meets paper. It's a very unique substrate. It's impermeable to moisture and grease. It's brandable. It's available in a variety of different put-ups, and it's something different that, again, no one else has. And the best part is 100% compostable. The other category, to Savannah's point, is the bamboo category. That's very robust with the number of SKUs within the collection, it's got a nice look, and it has a variety of different plates and bowls, and it's a complete category for us.
Now, it begs a question, Fernando. I know I'll get this question from somebody. Does the ink or that impression that you make, which is awesome, I've never seen this before, and this is unique, and this is going to be a huge selling point. Okay, what separates you from your competitors, right? And this is one thing that'll help. Are those inks compostable, or is something going to leak? Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. That's a special sauce right there. That's good.
Yeah, special. Yeah, it's food contact. It's all compostable. And it's certified inks too then. So everything that we promote is third party certified, and you can stand behind it and know that it's not just Better Earth making the claim. We've actually taken it a step further and got third party certification.
And for clarification, thank you for that. Clarification is whenever you do custom print something, add to the cost just a little bit, or
we can use clamshells as an example, and it would add a nickel cost to branding per unit.
Okay, so branding would it's typical. That's normal for any supplier on that product. Okay, good. Love the products. What else? Anything else that you have on there?
That's about it, besides who to contact.
Yeah, talk about that. How would my team get a hold of you? And we have people, when I say team, not just the Western United States, is going to be the entire company and eventually globally. But let's talk about North America. Who would they reach out to first of all?
So we're divided into 3 regions, Pat. Myself, I cover the West Coast and Latin America. You got Mike Hicks would cover the Midwest, and Russ Pacino would cover the East Coast.
Okay.
So we'll have the point of contacts available, and we've got a strong support team internally to field calls and really support our efforts out in the field. So there's a variety of different point of contacts as you move forward and develop programs with Better Earth.
And Savannah, since you're the VP of sustainability, if there's any questions or if we want to use your expertise, not to say Fernando doesn't have the expertise, but if you some special expertise you may have in the area of sustainables where we have that tough customer that wants to ask those, deep rooted questions, we can bring you into the interview, into the conversation as well with our customers.
Absolutely. I would love the opportunity to do so. I'm simply at Seydel@becompostable.com. You can reach me there. We have a sustainability team. So I'm joined by our partner advocate, Blair Michael. That would be bmichael@becompostable.com. She's also, she actually comes from the composting background and would be more than willing alongside myself to join anybody on your team to support conversations in the field.
Yeah, and absolutely. Again, during this podcast, I highlighted and talked about your website. It's amazing with the information you have on there. I had an understanding, not the understanding that both you have as far as sustainability and products, but I learned something new. And the more time you spend on that website, just viewing the products and also getting some samples out, getting people involved and more enthusiastic and more educated on sustainables now, because there is a big difference from 5 years ago till today. And so I appreciate both you coming on, giving some insight to Better Earth. I think we're going to partner well with you guys across the world, I should say, and hopefully, get some results very quickly. So thank you both for your time. Anything else you want to add, or?
No, we appreciate the engagement. Better Earth is a very diverse company. We represent probably 15 different countries within our team. We've got a great story. We're there to support your sales professionals. I know that we can help with sales meetings, with field work, with presentations to large operators. So I encourage the team to kind of embrace what we're doing, but know that you have a support mechanism out there with the sales pros on our team, as well as our broker community. We've got, I think the number is, Savannah, you can help me on the number of brokers, close to 100 different brokers nationwide to support our initiatives. So we're in all the markets nationwide. We continue to develop broker relationships to support our field work. We routinely train them and have transparent engagement with them for them to be our advocates out in the field. So we're really trying to build a community, get our message out to our customers, and really try to bring some solutions to the market where, where the greenwash is occurring and people are raising their hands like, hey, that sounds cool, but how do I do it? And I don't want to pay too much. And, that's where we jump in and really try to help educate our customers.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this conversation, to educate our customers, educate our sales force, how this has evolved, and what we need to do to get the word out. It's not that tough. It's just getting out there and educating the consumer, educating the customer, and also our salespeople. So thank you both very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Have a great day. Thanks, team.